if you want.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, beloved hearts. I am honored and excited to be here with my beloved cosmic sister, Zoe Davenport. We are going to be channeling through a transmission today, just flowing back and forth with what is most present and alive for us in the collective and in our own unique experiences right now. And one of the things that we wanted to tap into was this sacred space, especially between now and May 11th, because we have a new moon in Taurus, which is my ruling sign. I'm so excited. To really lean back and look at where we are embodying less than our greatest capacity for love, and where we have been allowing that to show up in our experience, in our relationships, kind of clearing out the energetics that are ready to be released so that we can really open into a greater expanse of love in all of its fortuitous forms inside of our reality and our experience. So we were tuning into now being a great time for deep self-reflection into what are some of those things that we are ready to release, that we no longer wish to have agreements with inside of our reality or experience, and what new agreements are we making within ourselves moving forward, and really being faithful and true to that for our own greatest thrival, which then ultimately leads to the greatest thrival of everyone and everything around us. So, Zoe, I'd love to hear from you what your current experience is like with the energetics and where you are in your own personal odyssey of unfurling, and we'll just flow from there.
I'd love to share that. This may all feel repetitive, right? These journeys, these dates that we move through, what's happening in the collective, what's happening on a micro level. I'd love us to actually look at these through more of an expanded lens of amazing opportunity to really look at our realities through the lens of unlimited potential and what capacity we're at in terms of receptivity, receiving more of the abundance of frequencies, of light, of information that is helping us to repurpose our awareness and plugging into the holographic field desires and experiences that are of that highest available timeline. And this may manifest for us in the form of really just taking a life inventory, looking at an area of our lives, and just pick one, whether it's finances or relationships or family or where you're living or your passions or your give back, or your personal development, picking one of those areas and really feeling into it and asking, are the things that I'm doing in alignment with what I see for myself? Because any desire we have is a desire plucked from the future version of us that's already had that experience, right? And so many people feel that desire it's not actually possible. But any desire, any kind of passion, any drive that we have has already been created. And particularly this time, and there'll be many other opportunities such as this one, to be in harmony and flow with the energies that we're receiving to help accelerate that potential. But we've got to be willing to take a look at it, take a peek under the bonnet, like what's going on there. And it's okay if maybe you're a year later and maybe you're still in the same house and you thought you'd be somewhere else. It's okay if you're still single. It's okay if maybe your bank balance isn't showing the reflection of you. It's okay if there's a deeper desire and calling to show up more and help humanity. It's looking at that in ways to get into alignment and looking at what wants to be released in order to create space. And the temptation can be, when we're going through these processes, is the mind will have the illusionary story that we're letting go of things and there's nothing going to be in its place that we're not going to receive, because then there's that empty void, that space. And we've got to be willing to surrender to what wants to fall away. And maybe you're best friends with someone one day and you speak every day, and then suddenly you go through a transition and the next day you never speak again. well, that's beautiful, because whatever was within the codings of your guys's experiences is complete, and that's okay. But we see it that there's something wrong, or we create drama, or we want to go back into it. Let what naturally wants to fall away and fade out of your life go with grace and ease, and not be in the story of it, not be in the drama of it. Just say thank you. Thank you for these experiences. And so for me personally, the last few days, one thing I've been doing is kind of going through my business with a fine tooth comb. Is what I thought I was meant to be doing in total alignment with this new version that's coming in, and what wants to be let go of. And it's hard because we have resistance to that. It's like, oh, I don't want to let go of this because I know this is familiar. This is the known, right? I want to bring this with me through this gateway because I want to feel good, but I don't know if I want to let that go yet. But if it's naturally wanting to depart, we want to be moving forwards, right? Movement and energy flowing forwards. And this is such a beautiful time. And even if you're watching this video a month from now, 2 months from now, there's no time. Do this now. Like, sit down, get clear with yourself. What am I here for? What lights me up? What am I passionate about?
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm really grateful that you took it to the expansionary energetics of the field, because really in the greater picture, and I utilize the words, but really in deepest truth, there is no collective, it's all an extension of who we be in our own deep consciousness, our psyche, our heart resonance, our own frequency. And so these transitions, as we open into more expanded, accelerated frequencies, accelerate exponentially. And so we're called to move through these transitory periods. It's like the dance, right? It's the dance of life. And we're constantly twirling from one scene to the next with new characters and new experiences and novel, playgrounds to immerse in. And there's going to be some facets of that that are very rich, solid, rooted, stable, secure, that are going to be with us for the long haul. And it's really having a willingness to move with those currents and with that flow, with non-resistance, non-judgment, and non-attachment. And so we get to look at where do we focalize or loop in an experience before we move forward. And so that's, I believe what you're referencing to be drama, but where we get caught up in the story, we get caught up in the experience of it, and just sit, instead of really looking at it through the observer lens and going, okay, well, this is really suitable for me in this moment. It was perfect and beautiful. And this is all the ways that it served my journey, my soul, my expansion, my heart. And I imagine that it was in greatest service and alignment for whomever was present in that part of the ever unfolding novel. And we're all going through these magnificent personal expansions right now. And so the alignment is shifting. And so can we let that alignment shift with ease and graciousness and playfulness and positive, healthy outlook that's still rooted and anchored deeply in love? And also while just being very present to our truth and our personal experience and what is valuable and meaningful for us. Because I find that in my own evolution, when I go through these expansions, what shifts for me is, well, there's always one core root. Like for me, the standard is love, but it's such a depth of deep, genuine, real, just rich love that is felt, that is known, that is pure, that resonates as the self, and that being the root, and looking at where my values and my agreements are in absolute congruence with that, and where they have an opportunity to shift into a greater alignment inside of my experience. And that always starts within me, and it's the same with all of us in our own journey, because this is all just reflecting this. So it's also really beautiful to look inside and go, okay, well, how did I create that? What was I agreeing to? What was I allowing? What was I perpetuating? And how can I make those deep internal shifts so that the extension or the reflection, so to speak, shifts with me? And to go inside and make those necessary adjustments, because it's it's not sufficient to just try to alter out here. Some people run around throughout their lives trying to shift and change and adjust everything that's out here without really going deep inside and creating a new uh, illuminated landscape of being with new imagery, new coding, new, linguistic artistry, new ways of beingness, new sensations and deep felt resonance that then allow all of this to create and come into a natural congruence and an outer synchrony. So what I've actually been focalizing, because I just moved into my new home temple and I'm so excited. I love her so much. She's so enchanting. And I've been traveling and going through some massive shifts in my own personal world. So what I've been focalizing is my health, just being very present to my body in a way that I haven't quite gifted myself the spaciousness to in the greatest capacity that I could have been up until this point, because I've been so involved in so many places. So for me, it's been looking at, where is my energy extended into these projects, these commitments, these organizations, these people, these relationships, all of these other things, and where am I not really fully showing up in absolute integrity to my own self and my own health and my own well-being and thrival, and where can I release some things so that there's more room for that, so there's more spaciousness to come into that deeper alignment with, well, my own, just to even hear myself fully, right, without all the other symphonies playing at the same time, just even have that space to come in and calibrate to my own symphony and my own resonance, without all of the other dynamic songs playing simultaneously. And that into itself has been just such a profound gift. I feel like I've just de-aged by 10 years in the past couple of weeks, just from letting go of all of those things that were occupying space in my world. And so as we go through these constant evolutions and expansions of our energetic field, of our beingness, of our creation, of what we're opening to and welcoming more of, there's always a simultaneous movement of release. And so it's like looking at what are we ready to release, and what are we ushering in? And this is the next most potent piece to look at, going into our imaginal landscape and going, okay, what beautiful novel visions am I bringing to life? And let's cultivate that. Let's focalize that. How do I want to bring this forth? What are some inspired ideas for how I can serve at a greater capacity in order to actualize and crystallize these things in my reality? And how can I just stand open? Like the 5-pointed star, the Vitruvian man, how can I stand open to receive at a greater level than I have ever conceived possible for myself, and to stay with the fluidity of that flow?
Yeah, I love what you said about just looking at, just creating that space for it as well, right? And really visualizing like what wants to come in now, like what wants to land, and what is occupying our time, what is occupying our energy. That's a big one. And it can be hard for us to look at that because it's vulnerable. It's like, oh, well, no way that it makes sense now why these things aren't landing, or we're not feeling totally embodied or really grounded, because if our mind and our energy is occupied with all this other stuff that's we thought was in alignment, but we didn't actually stop to take a breath to see if it was or not. And we can be very busy very quickly doing a lot of things that aren't necessarily supporting our greatest potential, right? Because it's very easy to fill the calendar, and it's very easy to go and do this thing and go and do that thing, and thinking that is also supporting our spiritual growth as well, like our emotional growth, right? Our physical growth. But actually looking at it and seeing, is this actually in alignment? Is this actually working with me, for me, through me, of me? Or is it perhaps something that the ego may have thought was aligned, because the ego wants to protect, it wants to protect its identity. So sometimes we can feel totally resonant with something 1 minute, and then the next, when we actually really dig deep and we look at it, wow, actually this is not an alignment for me. And that potency of self-awareness is how we can bypass the ego and really come into the truth of it and be willing to just walk away and shift, and that's okay. And some people may be triggered, some people may get upset or annoyed. However anyone else reacts is their own version, and that's okay. But staying true to the inner knowing, staying true to that inner internal guidance system, once we can actually bypass the ego and bypass our expectations and actually listen to that truth by how it feels in the body, right? Sarah, we were talking about this week. Is it a full body yes? And it may be at one point, but maybe there's a slight alteration or something shifts in the field and it's not feeling like a full body yes anymore. We'll pay attention to that. Like, our body is communicating to us daily. The universe is communicating to us daily. And when we don't pay attention to that, we can run the risk of running the same loops, the same patterns, right? The same stuff. And particularly the potency of this gateway, it will be harder later on. It just will be. So we have a beautiful opportunity at every moment to tune in. What is it that we are doing? Is it our soul's highest expression? Are we in alignment? Are we a full body yes? And chances are sometimes there's this thing that we've built up that we've thought that we wanted to do and it was aligned at the time, and we've put so much energy and I've worked so hard for this, and we may go through a shift and it just might not be there anymore. Now, are we willing to look at that and walk away because there's something else that wants to come in? And most people get stuck about here, and they could spend years. You know, if I had $1 for every time someone said to me in the last few years, oh, well, I had a psychic reading once, like 15 years ago, and they said I'm a healer. Or I had a psychic reading and they said I'm going to XYZ. I'm like, okay, and how does that resonate for you now? Well, it doesn't really sit right. But, but I was told that. Well, maybe there's something else. Maybe you've transitioned out of that potential, that timeline. You shifted, you collapsed, whatever that was. And we hold ourselves back by holding on to what we think we know we're meant to be doing. And we got to be willing to just walk away from all of it. And this is I see that women struggle with this a lot, because and men too as well, but particularly women, that woman, feminine archetype, because we want so much to succeed and thrive. And when things don't necessarily work out or show up in the way that we thought it would, or in the timeline that maybe some psychic had told us it would, we equal that to failure. To, I had a lady the other day, she reached out, she's like, oh, I got a download to run this course and felt really good and I was really excited and I launched it and no one signed up. I'm like, and? She's like, but I feel so defeated. I'm like, well, you're just going to stop there? You're going to quit? Maybe it's not the right time. Were you truly ready? Were you truly in resonance to run it at that time? Did it feel joy for you? Was it inspiring? Or did you just run with it without questioning, is this a full body yes? Maybe we get downloads and it's something we're meant to do in 10 years. I mean, I get them all the time. I've received downloads and I'm like, I don't know how that's going to work, and it's not necessarily for right now.
Right.
So this is the time, guys. This is the time. All we have is now. That's it.
It all leads to, and I'm ferociously passionate about this, listening to the self, turning off all the other voices, all the other noise, all of the other gurus and people who are telling you what you should do or what your greatest alignment is or what your legacy is on the planet. The reality is all of that is transient in the present moment. And that's potent precision embodiment right here, right now, tuning into ourselves. And I love that you said to stop and take a breath and tune in with the self and to ask you what is in right alignment for you, what is in accord with your heart, What is your deepest knowing? And what feels so, so true, so rich that it is a full body yes? And really, for me, uniquely, it's just been about dialing in. If I even have to question something, it's a no. If I even have a process of questioning around it, then it's a no. If it is not a laser clear diamond, yes. And I know it and I feel it, and my whole being is lit up with aliveness and wonderment, and it's a clear line, then it's a no. And so for me, a point of reflection has been where am I dancing in spaces that are not a full body yes? And am I willing to let all of that go in my service and my relationships and living environments across the board, you name it. And in that release is truly the most profound orgasmic ecstasy, because we start to realize the power in choosing ourselves and choosing our alignment. And then all of the cosmic machinery comes into alignment to work on our behalf, because we're not creating resistance fields everywhere in our field. When we're not in congruence, even if it's just by a micro nano particle, then that's a space of resistance that we're creating in our own flow, our own greater synchrony with self. And when we are in those laser clear congruent alignments, then everything flows. And so there's so much power and potency and manifestation power in just getting clear on what that is for us, what our yeses are, and staying in alignment with that. So simple, so simple. And that requires us listening to ourselves. And so one of the things that I witness a lot in people is the anxiety that arises in their system because they're on cognitive overload, or they've got frenetic energy happening in their field. And it's because they're extending their energy out, or just a massive amount of stimuli and input coming in from people, technology and specific, and not giving their system time to rest and for them to come into congruence with their own voice. What is right for me? What is best for me and true for me? Because when I choose that, when I choose what is going to flourish my vessel and my world, I am automatically the greatest service to all the consciousness that surrounds me in all moments and all people and beings who show up in my reality. And if I am choosing out of alignment with myself, then that's not in service to anybody. First and foremost, us. And there's so many ways that we're taught to listen to all the things out here, to ingest all of the data from the external, and it clouds and bombards our system, creates dissonance, and we've got a frenetic field going on. Like, what's going on? And we start to think something's wrong with us, and all that can unfold in that space. And nothing really. We just need these sacred, sumptuous spaces of silence to commune with nature, to hear our own voice, to listen to the truth of our soul, and to have an audacious, brave willingness to let go of all that is not in congruence with us, and to clear the dross and to clear the cobwebs and come back home to our own essence. And to be an example of what that alignment looks like and how powerful it is, because we don't create global unity by going outside of ourselves and trying to create unity in the ways that it is often taught and pervade in the spiritual community. Synchrony and unity is created by each and every one of us, establishing such a deep internal harmony with self that synergy naturally, organically arises. It is not something that we have to create by going outside. And so the greatest service that we all even have to offer is a deep service to our own self.
Oh.
Thank you so much for your wisdom and your clarity.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone else, for listening.
Thank you for being here with us and sharing this space. We hope that there were jewel drops of prolific wisdom for you to integrate in your own experience. And we'll be back again soon, rolling out some fresh transmissions for you. And happy new moon on May 11th. And We love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your presence.
Oh, thank you.